Hey there, Titans. In this video, we'll have fun with the Titan and Twilio new functionality. Alright, so let's get started. First thing we'll do is head over to my account and head over to push settings logs, and we'll scroll down to the bottom and we'll see Twilio, and we'll click grant access. And this is assuming you have a Twilio account set up. So we'll head over to the Twilio account, and we see that we need account SID, token from console, and we want to allow calls, so we'll need an additional few things here: API key, API secret, and application ID. So let's start with the account SID. So I'm at the Twilio account in the console. This is the dashboard. We have the SID and we have the token. So we'll start with these two. And for the API key, what you will need to do is head over to the settings in Twilio, and you want to go to API keys, and then you'll grab either create a new one, and once you create, you can get the API secret once. So I already have set up over here. So basically we'll just create a new API key, give it a name, create the key, we'll get the key and the token. After that, you can only get the key. So I have it pre-saved. I'm just gonna fill this up here. And I have my secret. And the application ID, what we need to do is head over to programmable voice, and we'll head over to Twiml apps, and you will create your app according to what Titan gives you here. So here is the request URL for the application. And if I'll head over to Donkey Docs, I'll see that I put in the request URL of whatever Titan gave me, and then Twilio will give you the SID, which is what we're looking for, is the application ID. We'll hit apply, and we're done with initial configuration of Twilio. All right, let's do something fun. So let's say we want to do a Smartv. So we'll head over to the Salesforce, drag the Smartv onto our screen, and let's say we want to authenticate an account. No conditions, just apply, and we'll add some fields. So we'll need an email from the account, and this is a custom field. You might authenticate a contact. What I will do here is just bring in the account as the Smartv, and then pull up all the contacts, and we'll click on a contact from a Form Titan table, and we'll call that contact on click. All right, so we brought in the email, we want the account ID, and we want the password. All right, so let's set up the email as the email, value is my account ID, and I want the secret as the password. We'll hit apply. Wonderful. And let's do this. Let's bring in a table. And let's say this will be name, email, and that's enough. We don't need the third column. And what we will do here is add a custom action. All right, so we'll head over to advanced, we'll scroll down to the bottom, custom actions, hit configure, and we'll call this call, and you can either confirm or run a trigger, or you can set the value to a hidden. Let's trigger this automatically. So let's hit apply, and what I will do, let's save the form, we'll put in a hidden, and we will call this, let's put it over here, I guess a little bit more, and instead of key we'll call this selected. Wonderful. Let's take a peek before we configure the custom action and what we need to do in order to get Twilio to work from this form. So I'll head over to integration. So form settings, show all settings, and set notification. I want to head over to Twilio, we want to say phone call, and we will enable it. And you can see I'm connected to Salesforce, and what I will tell Titan now, which object do I want to call to. So I need to choose an object. I need to give it a record ID, which will be the selected contact. And the callback result, we need to map it. Basically, once we call Twilio, we'll get a response back of what happened with that call, such as duration, the status, answered, not answered, etc. And we need to map it to a hidden, which will basically contain a JSON response from Twilio, and then we'll be able to break it up from there and do whatever we want with it. And the callback status basically just gives you the status of the call, so failed, answered, not answered, etc. And the person name basically gives you which phone you want to call. I'll show you once I select the contact. So we need to go back, create some hiddens for this, but you can see that you can select the person name of who you're calling. It will show it nicely in the pop-up of the call. All right, so let's go back and we'll fill in some hiddens. And all right, so we have the selected contact. I'm just gonna add an ID to this. So we have selected contact ID, and let's put in a hidden for Twilio response, and let's put in a hidden for the person name, which will be in my instance the contact name. And we'll do a hidden for phone 1 and phone 2. So this one will be home phone. And we'll put another hidden for mobile phone. Okay, let's map these guys. So I'm gonna head over to my get integration, and I'll get a contact. Okay, so we're getting the contact by the selected contact ID, and I'll use it in an action, and my condition will be very simple. Give me the contact where the contact ID equals my selected contact ID. Wonderful. Now let's map our hiddens. So what we want to do is map the contact name, and we'll map it to my contact. Let's do full name. And what else do we need to map over there? Let's map something for the home phone. So we'll do for the home phone other, just to show you the possibility that you don't have to show the actual phone. We'll do other. You know what, we don't even need to map it. Let's just map the mobile phone. So what I will do is custom, and in the custom I'll write mobile, and then I'll bring in the mobile phone from the contact. So it will show us the mobile phone and the mobile, and then it will show us the mobile itself, the phone number. All right, we'll hit apply, and the home phone, what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna map it statically to home. All right, so this we're done. Let's head back to our custom action, and we'll run the hidden. So whenever a user clicked on the custom action, we'll set the selected contact ID on this hidden. And once the selected contact ID is not empty, so I'll set a simple condition on this one. Let's do it is not empty. Then what I want to do is execute Salesforce action, and I'll get the contact by ID, and we're good. Don't need to set anything else. All right. Save this, and now let's head back to Twilio and configure some things. So show all, integration, set notification, Twilio, phone call, enable, and we'll choose our contact object. Our record ID is mapped to the selected contact ID. Callback result is Twilio response. Callback status, we forgot to create a hidden for this. We'll create that in a second. We'll go back and set this up. And we'll map the person name to the contact name. You can set captions as well. So whatever we get in the window is customizable. And you can select up to 3 phone numbers to show whoever is using the form. So we'll select our first number to be the home phone. This is basically going to be the label. And here we'll set the home phone from the contact. And this one will be the mobile phone. And we'll get the label from the mobile phone. The third one is not relevant for me right now. It's just an example. So I'll hit finish. And we'll save this. The only thing we need to do is the call status. So we'll say Twilio call status. And let's head back to our integrations, Twilio, and set the call status to the call status. And finish and save. Now the last thing we need to do, actually we need to do 2 more things. So first of all, we have to populate this beautiful table. So what we're going to do is head over to our form, Salesforce integration, set get. What we want to do is get contacts. And we'll say get contacts onto table by account ID, which is hosted by the Smartv login, because that's the value that we're holding on the Smartv. And we'll set a condition. We'll say account ID equals to our Smartv. Wonderful. We'll hit apply. And we don't need to map anything technically. My bad, we don't need to map. Basically, we're mapping the table. So we'll select all because we're bringing multiple contacts. And let's limit it to 50. And let's head over and map our fields. So we'll go to table name. We'll map the contact full name. Table email, we'll map email. And that's all we have to do for this one. The second thing that we have to do is basically trigger Twilio. Now, to trigger Twilio, you can do 2 things. Either put in a button and say this button type is Twilio, and whenever you click this, it will trigger Twilio. The other thing, in our instance, what we're doing, we already have this functionality because we want to run it off a condition, because they click the call in our custom action on the table. So what we will do is we'll do this. We'll say we'll head over to the selected contact ID, and we will say we'll add another rule just to make sure that we ran our get already. So what we will do is we'll say current field is not empty and contact name is not empty as well. So we know our get ran already because we're mapping the contact name from the get that's running off the selected contact ID. And what we will do here is execute button. Very simple. And we'll click Twilio, hit apply, and save, and our form is ready. The only thing I have to do now is just head over to my Salesforce, grab an account. So let's grab this account. I'm just gonna pause this, set up the account, some contacts, and we'll continue from there. Okay, so I've set up the account with some contacts that we can call. And one thing before we go ahead and run this, we'll head back to Twilio and click the configuration. And what we need to do is set the caller ID. Now the caller ID is basically the phone number that you've purchased from Twilio. So you will head over to your numbers, and once you've bought a number from Twilio, you need to put it over here. Otherwise, you will get an application error. So I'm going to grab that number and I'll paste it into my caller ID, hit finish. Now we're ready to test this. Alright, so let's publish a form. And Smartv will ask us to log in. So I'll put in my email address. And I'm gonna get right now an email with the password to log in. So here's the email. I'm just gonna paste in the code. And great. And I enabled the hidden, so I went to debug mode and show hidden fields so we can see what happens. Alright, so I'm gonna call this guy, which is me. And we got the contact name, we got the contact ID, and now we have two options to call this person, either the home phone or the mobile phone. And let's select the home one, and off we go. So we're calling the phone. Alright, that didn't work. Let's try the mobile phone. So I'm gonna hit call again. And let's try this number. And let's see what we get. Alright, so we're calling. And I'm getting the phone. I'll pick up. And let's hang up the phone call. Alright, phone completed. Let's see what we got from Twilio. So we'll hit close and we see the Twilio response. And we have the status here as well, so you can take actions up on this one. Let's take a look at the response and we'll do something fun with this. Alright, so we'll head over to our JSON viewer. Wait for it to load. And we'll paste in our variable. So let's head back to my hidden. And this is what we got from Twilio. Format this. So we have a Twilio response, API version, called. What we look for here is call duration. So that was 6 seconds, and we have directions and call SID and whatnot, and the caller ID, etc. And for example, if I'll call and let's run this again, and let's call the mobile again, and I'll cancel the call. Let's just wait for it to ring, and I'll hang up. And we see the status is no answer, and the Twilio response, we will see format this, and the duration was 0 since there was no answer. Call duration is 0 as well, and we have the phone number to where we called. Alright, so let's see what we could do with this. Let's say we want to break this up and push it into an object in Salesforce. So let's head over to my object manager. And we'll click edit object. We'll go to our object manager and I'll search for call log. This is just a custom object I created. Let's take a look at the fields and relationships. So we have a few fields here: call durations in seconds, call log name, blah blah blah, call SID, whatever we get back from the Twilio response, and with our contact ID, which basically will relate it to our contact. So if I'll head over to related, I see I have no call logs, and now I want every time somebody calls this contact, I want it to have a call log underneath it logging the call. Alright, so let's head back to our form, and first thing we need to do is break our response, our Twilio response. So what we're going to do is grab this field, Twilio response, and we'll head over to conditions. We'll set a condition. We'll say is not empty, and what we want to do is execute JavaScript to update some other headings, and with these headings we'll push, make a push into Salesforce. Okay, so let's see what we need. So first of all, let's look at our object and let's say what we want to see. We want to create a call duration. The name is auto number, so we don't need to do it. We want to grab call SID, the contact ID we have. We want to have the direction, the from, and status, and the to. All right, so let's head over to our form and we'll create some hiddens. All right, let's give them some names, and we'll start with call SID. Then we'll have call duration. We'll do the from, to, and I think we're set. Now let's take a peek at these field IDs. So this is FLD 12, 13, 14, and 15, and our Twilio response is FLD 6. All right, so let's configure the result. We'll head back to our execute JavaScript. The only thing we need to do is very simple. We have to grab the Twilio response, parse it into JSON, and from that JSON set up all the set value to our hiddens, to our other hiddens. All right, so I've set this up here. So we're getting the TRES, which is our Twilio response. We're using the window FT get value by ID, which is FLD6, and then we're setting the call SID hidden. We're setting it by, again, field ID, so 12, and TRES call SID, since we have that in the JSON object. Very simple. And we are having all of our hidden set. All right, our next step is to create the record in Salesforce. So what we want to do is head over to our push, Salesforce integration, push to Salesforce. We'll add an object. We'll call this call log, and push call log on end call, and we'll use this in custom action. And our action is create, and let's map some fields. We'll map the from call duration to our call duration, call SID to the call SID hidden, same with direction, same with to, and the status, we have the Twilio call status, and the contact is our selected contact ID. And that's all we have to do in order for this to save it. Now, the only thing we need to do is to invoke it, which we can do from here. So any of these fields, once they get filled up, which any of them is not empty, let's say the call SID. So we'll set a condition, we'll say call SID is not empty. Then what we want to do is execute Salesforce action, and we're going to say push call log and hit apply, and apply and save. We don't need to return the hidden, the created call log ID, since we don't care for it right now. So let's head back to our form, refresh it, and see how this does. So I'm required to log in again since I didn't put a session. And let's grab our code. And I'll make a call again to myself. And I'll pick up this time, so we'll have some information. Put myself on mute on the phone so it's not going to make a lot of noise. And I'll hang up. hung up, and we can see that something was saved to Salesforce. So we can see all of our information, the call SID and call duration, all that was filled up from the Twilio response JavaScript. And let's head over to our contact, and we'll refresh. And we can see a bunch of call logs since we were testing on this earlier. And let's get to the latest one. So 601, we see it was 13 seconds, just like what I had on the form, and the call SID, direction, and all that fun stuff. So this is how you create a log on every call you make or your representatives make. Another way to use this, so this is just a usage directly from Titan. You could do something like LWC. In my instance, I have, if I'll do edit page, in the previous video we showed with a custom action, we have also the Titan LWC, which what I've done is just dropped the custom. This is coming from the package, the Form Titan package from Salesforce. I just dropped an LWC component to my contact screen, and here I have a button which clicks and I call. The only thing you gotta do is put a Titan URL. So I've already done this for this one. And what we'll end up with, if I'll head back and I'll make a call, I'll click the button to call, then it will dial the contact phone immediately, since we only have one phone number. So that's great. And it will work the same way here. So let's say you want to have one phone number. So if I'll head back to our table instance, and I'll view all, go to integrations, to Twilio, and let's say I'll remove this option, just leave the home phone and click finish, and I'll show you what happens now. So I'll log in again. Grab the passcode. And log in. And if I'll call this guy now, it will dial automatically since we have only one phone number. And this is how it's done.